In wake of LeBron's comments on Anthony Davis, NBA sends memo to teams on tampering. It was a well-coordinated effort by his agent, Rich Paul of Clutch Sports. Days before the Pelicans came to Los Angeles to face the Lakers, with as the big headline. It was an effort to put pressure on the Pelicans. The Lakers would love to get in a trade conversation with New Orleans right now, but sources with direct knowledge of the Pelicans' plans have been clear with me, Davis is not being traded during this season. Was that tampering? By how the NBA has chosen to enforce the rules over time, it was not. Players talking about other players has been allowed. Like it or not. And through the media moves like LeBron's represent a drop in the bucket of recruiting that actually goes on. Everyone tampers. Everyone knows it. And with player movement part of what is fueling the growth in the NBA's popularity, the league isn't going to come down hard on stopping it. Trying to save some face, the NBA sent a memo to teams about player tampering. In a memo obtained by ESPN on Friday morning, league counsel seemed to be alluding to James' scenario, saying, employment contracts are to be respected and conduct that interferes with contractual employment relationships is prohibited. This principle is particularly important in today's media environment, where any actions or comments relating to potential player movement receive immediate and widespread public attention. Teams should be entitled to focus their efforts on the competition this season with the players they have under contract, without having to divert attention or resources to conduct or speculation regarding the potential destinations of those players in future seasons once their contracts expire. Okay, but what are you going to do about it? The memo says if player comments are part of a pattern of an organizational effort to recruit a player, it will be seen as tampering. Great. But the Lakers, already burned by tampering fines for Magic Johnson, are not the ones making a public push to get AD to LA. That's LeBron. He went to dinner with Davis after the Lakers/Pelicans game, and the two share an agent, so it's easy for LeBron to get that message through. Or, LeBron could just text Davis. Or talk to him at the All-Star Game events. Or a million other ways. Teams can do the same thing. The Lakers signed in part because he is a Rich Paul/Clutch client and it helped establish a relationship that would bring future players to the team, but that's not tampering, that's a player signing. Proving an organizational effort by a team to tamper is going to be very difficult, unless the league gets a hold of smoking gun emails or something. Teams are smarter than that. All of this gets back to the main point above, how badly does the league really want to stop this? They don't want the perception of tampering, but player movement and rumors of player movement are a huge part of the game's popularity. The league doesn't really want it to stop. It's just about the perception. The Houston Rockets are back. Well, somewhat. Their defense is still pedestrian, even during the recent hot streak. They have won 8 of 9 and pushed back into a playoff position on the back of an elite offense, one carried by Harden is averaging. Does that put Harden in the MVP conversation? It does if you ask Harden. I mean, yeah. Of course I should be in that conversation, Harden said. I mean, I receive a lot of hate, but it won't stop me from going out there and killing every single night, being the dog that I am. You can name a few other people that should be in the conversation. But realistically? It's coming back. He's right. Harden should be in the conversation, but he's not at the top of the list. Giannis Antetokounmpo, after that and in whatever order you want. Harden is part of that group. He got off to a slow start, and while his offensive numbers have rebounded, there is the other end of the court. Last season he played decent defense, this season he has been a problem opponents attack again. There more than half a season to go and the race will evolve and shake out. It always does. Fortunes will rise and fall. Harden needs to be part of the MVP conversation. But he has a long way to go, and a lot of people to leap, to repeat as winner. Is that what did here? I'm with Chris Webber on this one, that's not enough to earn a technical in my book. But if you want to argue that Capella hung up there and gave the rim a little shake for emphasis, and by a strict definition of the rule book that's a technical, then officials need to be consistent with it. And they are not. Compare them side by side. Yes, the Hawks called a timeout after that play, not that it changes the hanging on the rim, but if what Capella did disrespected the rim and violated the rules, then it is far more than just LeBron in this one instance, it's just the most egregious. We could put together 10 minutes of video from this season alone of guys doing more than Capella did and not getting teed up. Consistency. It's never going to be perfect in a game played by and officiated by human beings. But there needs to be more of it on these kinds of calls. NBA officials have a brutally tough job and generally do it very well, but common sense gets lost now and again. It did with Capella. Is about to take a big step toward returning to the Miami Heat. The Heat said Friday that they are sending waiters to the Sioux Falls Skyforce, their G League affiliate. The plan is for waiters to practice with the Skyforce and potentially return to Miami in time for Sunday's game against Minnesota. Waiters last appeared in an NBA game on December 22, 2017. He sprained his long problematic left ankle that night and expected to miss only a few games. More than a year later, he's still sidelined. Waiters had surgery on January 23 to repair the instability in the ankle, along with a broken bone on the inside of his foot. Waiters' issues with the ankle go back to March 17, 2017 when he initially was lost to a sprain. He missed the final 13 games of that season, then labored through his 30 appearances last season, averaging 14.3 points, but shooting only 31% from three-point range. For his career, Waiters is a 13.3-point scorer. This is the 7th NBA season for the former Syracuse guard. Last season's Rookie of the Year race really became about two men, Philadelphia's and Utah's. Voters overwhelmingly chose Simmons, 91st place votes to Mitchell's 11. Utah fans, who feed off the perceived lack of respect for their franchise, have not let that go. They booed Simmons when he and the Sixers came to Salt Lake City Thursday night. Which is silly, because what exactly did Simmons do except have an amazing rookie season? Simmons was having none of it. Before the game, it wasn't a expletive race, Simmons said. You saw the votes, right? Did you see the votes? So what's the question? After the game, where Simmons had a triple-double of 13 points, 14 rebounds, and 12 assists leading the Sixers to an easy 114-97 win, he told Jazz fans that they had motivated him, and their insults were weak. A few thoughts for Jazz fans. To be upfront, I was one of the 11 who voted for Mitchell for Roy. There was no bad vote between Simmons and Mitchell, both would have been deserving. The NBA rookie voting rules say that players who sat out the first season of their contract due to injury are considered rookies. You don't have to like it, but those are the rules. Won that way in 2011. We can debate whether the rule is fair, I don't have a problem with it, but Simmons and voters just follow the rules. Why are you booing Simmons again? Because he dared to be good? Come on now. Simmons is right in the spirit of his comments, it's time to move on. There are plenty of other things to freak out about with this Jazz team without pulling the scab off old wounds.